When 72-year-old Walter Hayes began waking up 3 to 4 times each night to use the bathroom, he chalked it up to age. "That's just how things are when you're old," he would joke with his friends at the senior center in Ohio. But deep down, Walter was exhausted. Sleep was no longer restful. It was fragmented, frustrating, and making his days sluggish and foggy. What started as a mild inconvenience turned into a nightly battle. And Walter wasn't alone. His wife, Margaret, had noticed changes too. "You used to sleep like a log," she often reminded him. "Now, you're constantly tossing, turning, and making trips to the bathroom all night." At first, Walter considered it could be a prostate issue, something many men his age fear. He went through a full checkup, only to discover that everything was within normal limits. The doctor told him it might be behavioral. That's when he started paying closer attention to his bedtime habits. It wasn't until a community health talk at the local library that Walter finally discovered the truth behind his sleepless nights and the surprisingly simple fix that changed everything. The guest speaker that evening was Dr. Emily Ross, a sleep specialist with over 2 decades of experience working with older adults. Her lecture, "Unlocking Deeper Sleep After 60, drew a modest crowd of curious seniors. Walter and Margaret sat in the front row, eager for answers. Dr. Ross began by asking a question that struck a nerve. "How many of you wake up to use the bathroom more than once a night?" Nearly every hand went up, including Walter's. "Nighttime urination, or nocturia, is common," Dr. Ross explained, "but it's not always due to age or medical problems. In fact, in many cases, it comes down to one bedtime mistake almost every senior makes." Walter leaned in closer. The room grew quiet. Dr. Ross continued, "The mistake is drinking too much fluid, especially the wrong kinds, within 2 hours of bedtime." A murmur ran through the audience. Walter glanced at Margaret. That very night, like every other, he'd had his favorite lemon ginger tea just before bed. "It's a relaxing ritual," Walter whispered. Dr. Ross smiled knowingly. "Many seniors believe herbal teas or warm milk help them sleep, and in a way they can. But drinking anything right before lying down, especially more than 4 to 6 ounces, can overwork the kidneys during the night. The body naturally reduces urine production when we sleep, but when we drink close to bedtime, we override that system." Walter raised his hand. "So, what's the fix?" "The fix," Dr. Ross replied, "is twofold. First, limit fluid intake after dinner. Ideally, stop drinking anything large at least 2 hours before sleep. Second, adjust your dinner menu to avoid foods that act as diuretics, like tomatoes, spicy sauces, citrus, and alcohol. These trigger the bladder." Walter's mind raced. He thought back to his dinners, a glass of water with lemon, spicy pasta with tomato sauce, and his bedtime tea. Without realizing it, he was sabotaging his sleep every night. Dr. Ross continued, "Try having your largest glass of water in the morning. Throughout the day, hydrate regularly but taper off by 6 or 7 p.m. If you're thirsty later, take small sips. And switch from bladder-stimulating teas to calming techniques like deep breathing, reading, or a warm foot soak." Walter went home that evening determined to change his routine. The next night, he skipped the tea, chose grilled chicken and steamed vegetables over his usual spicy pasta, and stopped drinking fluids after 7 p.m. He soaked his feet in warm water, read a chapter of his mystery novel, and climbed into bed by 10:30 p.m. To his surprise, he slept straight through until dawn. One night turned into 3, then a week, then 2. Walter no longer dreaded the nights. He felt sharper, more energetic, and far less cranky in the mornings. Margaret noticed the change too. "You don't snore as much either," she teased one morning over coffee. Word got around the senior center. Walter began sharing his secret with anyone who'd listen. Others followed suit, and soon a small group formed, jokingly calling themselves the Well-Rested Warriors. One member, Linda Thompson, 68, said she had been relying on melatonin pills and sleep aids, which left her groggy in the morning. After following Walter's advice, she noticed she didn't need them anymore. "It's amazing how one simple mistake was stealing my sleep," she said. Even the community center director took note and invited Dr. Ross back for a follow-up session. This time, the room was packed. At the session, more tips were shared. Some included gentle evening stretching to relax the pelvic muscles, elevating legs during the day to reduce fluid buildup in the lower body, and going to the restroom twice before bed, once after brushing teeth, and again right before climbing into bed. Walter stood up and shared his story. I used to think it was just age, that getting up to pee 5 times a night was my new normal. But it wasn't. I was sabotaging myself with that innocent cup of tea. Now I sleep deeper, feel better, and have a whole new lease on life. Dr. Ross smiled and added, "It's not about giving up the things you love. It's about timing. That tea? Have it in the afternoon when your body has time to process it. Respect your bladder's natural rhythm, and your body will thank you." Over time, more seniors in Walter's community reported improved sleep, fewer nightly interruptions, and even lower blood pressure, thanks to better rest. They felt more empowered, more in control of their health, and more hopeful that aging didn't have to mean broken sleep and foggy days. Walter, once a skeptic, had become an advocate for senior wellness. His daughter, Jessica, even helped him set up a small podcast called Sleep Smarter After 60, where he interviewed experts, shared stories, and gave friendly advice in his signature warm voice. On one special episode, Dr. Ross joined him and summarized it best: "You don't have to accept poor sleep as part of aging. Sometimes, the solution isn't in a pill, it's in the choices we make before bed. And often, the smallest changes have the biggest impact." As Walter signed off that night, he leaned into the mic and said, "So here's the takeaway, folks. Drink smart, eat smart, and sleep smart. You deserve deep rest, no matter your age." He turned off the recording, smiled at Margaret, and the two of them got ready for bed. No tea. No spicy dinner. Just quiet, calm, and the comfort of knowing that they'd cracked the code for deeper sleep. And for the first time in years, night after night, Walter drifted into slumber, not with dread, but with peace.